Intact or not intact? That is the question, whether 'tis nobler in the mind to suffer. Are you ready to pull it out? Well then, today I will be discussing circumcised versus uncircumcised penises. Welcome to Sex Talk with JoJo Bear. I'm your friendly neighborhood somatic sex and intimacy coach, and welcome to the show. So, let's start off with the basics. An uncircumcised penis, or uncut, means when the presence of the foreskin is still intact on the head of the penis. A circumcised penis, cut, is when the foreskin is not intact, surgically removed from the penis. So, let's talk about circumcision. The Mayo Clinic says that circumcision is the surgical removal of the skin covering the tip of the penis. The procedure is fairly common for newborn boys in certain parts of the world, especially the United States. Circumcision after the newborn period is possible, but as an adult, it's a more complex procedure. Now, for some families, the procedure could be a matter of family tradition, or it could be personal hygiene or preventative health care. Male circumcision is almost universal in much of the Middle East, North and West Africa, and Central Asia, and it's common in other countries including Australia, Bangladesh, Canada, Indonesia, Pakistan, the Philippines, the Republic of Korea, Turkey, and of course the United States. So, how the hell did this start? Well, I read a bunch of different things surrounding this, but really what I noticed that it's all about religion. According to Genesis, God told Abraham to circumcise himself, his household, and all of his slaves as an everlasting covenant in their flesh. If you want to know more about that, check out the Abrahamic covenant. Those who were not circumcised were to be cut off from their people. Now, Islam is currently the largest single religious group of which the practice is widespread, although circumcision is not mentioned in the Quran itself. Whether or not it should be carried out after converting to Islam is debated among Islamic scholars. Now, in the Jewish religion, it's usually performed by a mohel on the 8th day of life in a ceremony which is called a brit milah, or brie, not the cheese, which means covenant of circumcision in Hebrew. According to the Jewish law, the foreskin should be buried after a brie, and sometimes the rabbi will bite down on the penis foreskin. Yikes. The process has a mohel place his mouth directly on the circumcision wound to draw blood away from the cut. The majority of Jewish circumcisions ceremonies do not use this all the time, but some of the Haredi Jews use it. It's been documented that the practice poses a serious risk of spreading herpes to the infant. Okay then. Take a breath, boys. So, what does the medical community have to say about this? Well, they gave a long list. The medical community always does that. And what they say is circumcision creates a decreased risk of urinary tract infections, a reduced risk of some sexually transmitted diseases in men, protection against penile cancer, prevention of balanitis, which is the inflammation of the glands, prevention of physmosis, which is the inability to retract the foreskin, and paraphysmosis is the inability to return the foreskin to its original location. Circumcision also makes it easier to keep the end of the penis clean. Alright, some good stuff that they gave us. So what does it mean to be uncut or uncircumcised? Well, the foreskin is a double layer fold of smooth muscle, tissue, blood vessels, neurons, skin, and mucous membranes of the penis that covers and protects the glands and the urinary meatus. The foreskin typically covers the gland when the penis is not erect, but generally retracts upon erection. Coverage of the glands in a flaccid and erect state varies, depends on foreskin length. So it's kind of looking like someone with a turtleneck on, maybe pulled all the way up. The average male foreskin contains 20,000 nerve endings. According to one study, the least sensitive part of the foreskin is more sensitive than the rest of the penis. During intercourse, the foreskin produces a gliding action that reduces friction and enhances lubrication. So, all mammals are born with foreskin. Nature knows what it's doing, and babies deserve to keep the bodies nature gives them. Men who are still intact say they have a lot more pleasure and sensation than men that are not intact. So what do you think about this? I mean, I work with so many men that are either intact or not intact, uncut and cut, but I just think of the whole emotional horrors of circumcision, the fact that you get a little child, a baby that has just been born, and then taking them away from the parents and then putting them into this room where they are surrounded by a doctor or a nurse or by people, strangers, and they're crying and screaming, and they're basically cutting off a part of a boy's body. They're literally taking this one place that has so many nerve endings and so many receptors in it, and they're cutting it off. So they're basically detaching a part of the body that wasn't even negotiated. There was not consent to do it. And yes, there's a lot of reasons why people do it in this day and time. The medical industry just kind of just does it. But the reality of the matter is that men that are cut lose a lot of sensation around their penis. So it really reduces pleasure. And really, that's what it's all about. It's about being in a place of pleasure. So I'm always thinking of the emotional aspect of how it affects a man. And what do you think? Are you cut? Are you uncut? Have you ever thought of this? Does it matter to you? I'd like to know. So send me your questions or let me know what you think about being uncut or cut means for you. What does that mean emotionally? Send me a message at sextalkwithjojobear@gmail.com, or you can check out my website at www.metamorphicembodiment.com. Thanks for watching today's episode, and ciao for now.